Great question. It's interesting because empathetic leadership is something that hasn't really been around for that long, in the sense that, of course, being empathetic was always a characteristic that people would like to see in leaders, but it wasn't something that was seen as a characteristic that would make you a better leader. So especially now in the terms of us being in a pandemic and, dealing in the world that we're in, empathetic leadership is everything. And so it's to say, how to make your leadership more empathetic. There's kind of not a one size fit all formula, but what I would say is that if your leaders want to be more empathetic, they have to ensure that it's something that's not being forced upon them. And what I mean by that is that it's important that when someone is ready to be empathetic, that there are the tools and the resources available for them so that they could start to grow that muscle. Because a lot of leaders are used to a certain level of leadership or a certain level of execution of leadership. And that's just the way that they've been doing business for years to come. So it's important that when someone's empathetic, it's something that at times they need to learn. So what is the organization doing to ensure that their leaders are more empathetic? What type of training, what type of support, what type of coaching is being provided? And what are the other examples of empathetic leadership that we want the leaders to emulate? And so I think that's really important, that when you think of any change management process, from changing a process to changing a person's personality or kind of the way that they lead, it's a change. So it's not going to be something that's going to happen overnight. It's not going to be something that's going to be a quick fix, but they're going through a transformation. So it's something that's going to take time, and it's something that they're going to need a lot of help and support on to be successful. And to the second part of your question, what practices can be in place to help employees feel safe and secure in the workplace is, I would say, first and foremost, and not everyone would necessarily agree with me, but use your human resources department or maybe a manager or colleague that you trust. Now, not everybody is the same. Some people have great HR leaders who listen, who take action, and who really care. Other companies don't. And sometimes the HR is not there for the employees. They're there for the business. And that's a whole other story. But I would say, to make your employees feel safe and to make them feel secure, it's important that you're building a culture where they can be themselves. You're building a culture where it's okay to take risks. It's okay to ask questions. It's okay to make a mistake, because everybody makes mistakes and we're all human. If you don't have a culture where that's okay, people are never going to feel safe. People are never going to feel secure. And so it really comes down to the culture and how you build that type of communication. You build that trust and you build that transparency out of all layers. And it really does start from the top down. If your leadership team is not clear and transparent with one another, that's going to trickle down to the various layers of the organization as well. And they're going to see that. Things won't be running smoothly. Communication will get missed. And so I would say, if we're really trying to build and foster an area of the company that is focused on making employees feel safe, it's important that you create that trust at the leadership level, and then teach your managers and your people managers on how to do the same, so that they can then learn to trust each other, and then that's the way that it will trickle down. And this is not easy stuff. There are consultants. My firm does change management work. We do leadership coaching and development. It takes time. You're literally changing behaviors. And it's something that, is not, again, something that happens overnight. It can take time, months, sometimes even years, depending on the individual. But if the person is committed and willing to make the change, then incredible things can happen. Your culture can literally transform. When you start to put your employees first, when you start to think about safety, when you start to think about how you can make them feel secure, the performance will just emulate through everything that they do. And your culture will be of one that is celebrated, that is acknowledged, and really that people will gravitate to. So I encourage all leaders that are listening to ensure that you're taking the steps to create a safe and secure workplace culture.